If you want to be any good at Fortnite, you need to be able to fight. It's not all about triple edits and flashy mechanics. That includes the best player in the world, Peterbot. I'll show you 10 tips that he does that will help you win more fights. The first tip is super simple, but so helpful. Fortnite players have patterns, and the faster you can read them, the better off you'll be. Peterbot starts this fight by taking damage. He boxes up and pops some heals. Then the enemy does what most players would do, stand on the ramp and attack the wall. Peterbot goes for the cone, but the player's too high up the ramp. So this is the read that Peterbot makes. Most players will move to their left, Peter's right, once they're coned off. You want the right hand peek, and moving in that direction gives it to you. Peterbot knows this and reads the player like a book. He takes the wall, which surprises the enemy and hits him with his shotgun. Then he follows this up by placing the ramp. This then blocks the vision from the opponent and throws them off even more. To finish the fight, Peterbot waits for the opponent to shoot the wall, then sprays through for the kill. This is just repetition by Peterbot to know what opponents want to do next and take that away. Tip number 2 is using your weapons for wall damage in combination with your pickaxe. It's good to use your pickaxe for structure damage, but that shouldn't be the only thing. Using your weapons allows you to take builds from further away and better protected angles. If Peter waits to pickaxe this wall, he doesn't get the kill. By the time he gets to the wall, the enemy has escaped and the wall has more HP than one swing. So he shoots the wall as soon as he drops on it to take it. The cone edit timing eats the shotgun shot, but he follows that up with a burst of the AUG. That breaks the cone and the enemy is left thinking about his life choices. This next tip works way too often and most players don't know it. When you chop a player out, they can be shot through the build breaking animation. It's not immediately because the server needs to register that the builds are broken, but if you delay slightly, say the amount of time it takes to pull out a shotgun and aim, then you could surprise your opponent with damage. This is super helpful when an enemy is above you and you want to chop them out. Before they can connect to the builds, you can get damage in. Tip 4 is to cut off escape routes. This player boxed in a terrible position. They can only escape up or in this direction. Peterbot uses that to his advantage. He attacks the far wall, hoping the player runs out into the open space. Then he tries to pre-piece a box. The opponent goes out the only other way they can, which is up. Because Peter cuts off multiple paths, he makes it easy to read what the opponent will do. He expects the opponent to go up and hits the double edit for the finish. Tip 5 is to slow down. Even the best players in the world show patience at times. When you get a player boxed or in a bad position, don't panic and immediately jump in on them. See how Peterbot is patient after he boxes this player? The first shot misses, so he pauses and holds his wall. Then he takes a chunk of damage. Now he's patient. He waits for the opponent to make a move and pre-fires them as they break the wall with their SMG. The next tip is to avoid putting yourself in between two players. Notice how Peterbot stands on the far side of the third player? This will cause you to take less third-party damage during fights and make it easier to kill players when they're distracted. So always put yourself on the outside of a third party. Tip 7 is about movement and positioning. Peterbot always seems to know exactly where he is according to his builds. He stands at the intersection of the builds to give himself more options and protection. See how he can retreat to this box super quickly because of where he was standing? He doesn't get the wall and then the enemy jumps out on him. If he goes the other way, then he's stuck in a 50-50. Instead, Peterbot barely moves but is able to place a wall in the way. He constantly does this where he stands right on the edge of two tiles to give him more options to fight from. Take a look and see how many walls you can place just from this one little corner and how quickly you can place all the cones around them. This is a great position to fight from. This next tip might seem obvious, but you all make this mistake. Instead of taking an accurate shot, you shoot as soon as you can. Sometimes it's worth waiting a half a second to line up the shot and hit them for max damage, then taking the first shot that you can get. See how Peter slows down here just enough to line up the headshot? His crosshair started at the body due to the edit, so he delays just a little bit to get that max damage. In these 50-50 scenarios, it's really important to out damage your opponent, and you can see he does it again here. If Peterbot can slow down, so can you. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Tip number 9 is to let your opponents make mistakes. Peterbot is build fighting an opponent and they're doing pretty well, but they make a mistake of going for a shot with an open build. Peter uses this floor to block the shot and then take control of the fight. Then he will hit a chunk of damage and close the floor again to stop any follow-up shots. Only then does he jump into the box and close the fight. The mistake of leaving this floor open lost this enemy the fight and allowed Peterbot to win without any real threat to him. The last tip is to get creative. One of the reasons that Peterbot is so hard to fight is is that you never know where he's attacking from. In this scenario, you'd assume he pressures from this wall. Instead, he uses dashes to change the angle quickly. Because of this, Peterbot is able to get a cone into the box of the opponent. The enemy gets the wall, but now Peter just needs to take that wall back. Switching up your angles, movement, and tempo to catch opponents off guard is not a highly mechanical skill. It just requires thinking and creativity to give yourself an advantage. Most of these tricks just require practice and knowledge. I promise that you will win more fights if you can add these into your bag. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.